And what is up, guys? Technical Thinkers here. It is the afternoon of Friday, October 18th, 2024. Checking in on the 3D print operation. I'm a small business owner. I have a business that has nothing to do with 3D printing, but I'm seeing what's up with 3D printing. Maybe I can make it into a business, so I'm doing it here at home. So today, if you follow along in the process, we got our big D20 cube. Now we're on to the next sort of stage of development. We're doing the remainder of the coffee cup lid over here. We were doing the middle section over here in some regular PLA that had a layer shift and a nozzle sort of, I don't know if it was a clog or what, but it just sort of stopped. So we got about this far and had to give up on it. So I have to look into that and see what's doing there. But we were able to, because we're doing these big prints, I got some larger nozzles in, 0.6, a 0.8, and a 1.0 or 1 millimeter nozzle. So I've never done that before. I've never messed with it. So I'm kind of figuring out the settings. If you know what the great settings are for, say, Orca Slicer, let me know in the comments below, because Orca doesn't really have a profile directly for the Cobra 2 Max, and Cobra's Anycubic Slicer Next doesn't even really have a good profile for anything other than the 0.4 millimeter in there. Anycubic is just, I'm discovering here, I already kind of knew Anycubic was maybe not so great, but you know, it's kind of like just every day I discover a little bit extra of what makes it extra not so great. So I got the 0.8 millimeter nozzle in here doing a test at 0.6 millimeter layer height on a shrunken down version of one of the Glocks that I do. And so you can definitely see the layer lines in there. And again, this is just me adjusting the layer height and, you know, kind of opening up the volumetric flow. And really that's it. You know, I did change maybe a couple other things, but I really just need a whole suite of settings to mess with. And now I understand that with this increased layer height, I'm not going to get the same fidelity. But again, with these larger prints, the point of it's not really like it being a super fine sort of thing, but just the size of it. And this is just an effort to decrease the total time it takes to print these models. So these printers are pretty cheap, and kind of initially, my initial thoughts with this are, you know, it comes out great when I have the finer layer heights, like 0.25, 0.3 even. So, you know, versus going through all this and potentially having a failure. I mean, it's not failed yet, but, you know, maybe it's just better to run it slow and at a finer layer height, because the lid to this coffee cup is going in at a 0.3, and that looks great. And, you know, I'm kind of like discovering something here. This is regular standard Sunlu PLA. Whenever I do the Elegoo Rapid PLA Plus, which I've been a champion of, it always seems to have issues. Running it slow. It's like it needs to run fast in order to have any sort of quality. That doesn't make any damn sense to me, but I guess it's engineered for that. And when I run regular PLA at, you know, the higher temperatures, slower, it comes out looking great. So I don't know if it's the Rapid PLA Plus, but, you know, I got the Rapid PLA Plus because I have machines capable of high speed, and because in case I got a lot of orders. When I bought it at the time, I was doing a lot of orders. I was like, oh my God, I got to fill these fast. But now it's kind of slowed down. It's like, well, do I really need that? So maybe potentially going into another production filament altogether. And over here on the A1, we got our matte Army Man green PLA and our matte gray PLA. We're doing our model of the little boy atomic bomb. It's about 240 millimeters, so it'll take up pretty much the whole height of the build plate. It's only in the green and gray, so it shouldn't take too much longer. I think the total print time was about 9 hours at a 0.2 layer height, so we'll see how that comes out. And another day, another $100-something worth of PLA from Bamboo, but hey, I go through it. So again, all these are matte. Every single one of them is matte PLA, and that is to kind of have some testing and better success with supports on those character models. If you saw my video this morning, I did this one with PETG as the interface layer. It came out much better than anything else I've ever done, but still that PETG, you know, it really kind of, it left some pieces and flecks, and, you know, I'm just not entirely super satisfied with it. So I'm gonna run a test with just matte PLA, and maybe I'll do the breakaway filament, the Polymaker breakaway filament as an interface layer. It'll take an eternity to do it, but if it translates into a better quality print, then you can make up for long print times with more printers. And again, I pulled all the supports off the big D20 cube. Like I had mentioned in the last video, it's just this kind of one rough patch here. This was the contacting the build plate. This one patch here was a little rough, but the rest of the model looks so good. It just looks clean and crispy and flawless. You know, nice, big, giant, about 390 millimeters. Great all over, so very pleased with that. That's a win. So whatever else I come up with through the course of the afternoon, I mean, the afternoon's wrapping up, but whatever comes off the printers through the course of the night, we'll check in the morning. So I'm going to throw it over to my future self tomorrow morning. Let's see what you got. And thank you, past self. It is now extremely Saturday, October 19th, 2024. Let's see what came out. All right, so I was running low on bamboo spools, so I went ahead and printed up another few. Got this one in the voxel PLA. Man, if I was ever wishful for a filament sponsor, I think Vox is probably my favorite at this point. Everything comes out great. So new spool there for all that matte bamboo PLA that we just got in. Got the coffee cup lid here, checking in on it. Running just fine so far. A little maybe-ish. Let's just say maybe-ish here on the cup lid. And then this one, I don't know what's going on over here on Cobra 2. But this is the middle section of the coffee cup, and as I had outlined yesterday, it's good to dig down here in the trash. We had it sort of just stop extruding completely on this one. So just tighten the belts, and then I pushed some of the filament through the nozzle, came out fine, but that's me just manually pushing it, not like clicking the extrude button. Came out just fine, restarted the print, and then almost immediately had a layer shift. And then as of, found it this morning, it had stopped, just completely stopped extruding, you know, and it was like this far above where it was supposed to be going. So I just killed it, just turned off the power, and it's been kind of sitting in that state. But, you know, looking at it, I guess probably what I'll do is I'll just take off the print head, and I keep a spare for instances like this in case it is the actual extruder. And again, I don't have a ton of experience in a 3D print space. You know, it's kind of a lot really new to me. So it's the first time that's kind of happened on a consistent basis where it's not pulling it in. Temperature settings seem to be fine. Notably, I am running regular PLA on this because the coffee cup middle section needs to be colored, and I don't have a lot of a large amount of colored filament that's just kind of at the ready, and so that middle section takes about 800 grams, and so it's basically a full spool, so I can't really risk it running it and, you know, running out of filament without having to buy more undesirable filament. So I'll probably pop that off today, swap it out, and see if I get the same error. Over here on the P1P, again, putting together some extra bamboo spools. Doing this one in PET G because I don't do a lot in PET G, and you know, it's tough, it's sturdy, so might as well do it that way. And some people saying like, oh, it doesn't make sense to print your own bamboo spools because if you buy the filament with the spool, it's cheaper to buy it that way. And I'll keep that in mind in the future. Unfortunately, oftentimes when I go to buy bamboo filament, it's only the refill is available. You can't buy it with the spool. Now I could buy supplemental spools, but I didn't really even think about it. So just printing up some more, but you know, it's not like I'm doing this to try to save money or anything like that, because again, I'd much rather have a bamboo spool than one that I printed, but I need it because I want to swap these out and get going with it, so I'm printing them up. And so finally, some of the other things that I've been working on. If you saw yesterday, I was kind of messing around with some concepts, again, art concepts, and I'm kind of going to get into that a little bit as well. But a lot of people have the giant Glock in their cart, and so I'm like, well, maybe I lean into that a little bit for the art style prints like I do with the bullets. People that want more militaria, more weapony type stuff, more things like that, more man stuff. So this is the little boy atomic weapon that was dropped on Hiroshima. Very simple model. As you can see, it did it in the matte PLA. This is Polymaker matte PLA, like an army man green, military green, with some matte gray in there. So the color separation, it's only two colors. When I was trying to find like color images of this device, it had it in army green with these gray plates, these hangers, antennas, whatever these are, these drag fins. And so I just did it kind of like that. It's a very simple model, and this could probably easily be scaled up to print on the Cobras or another large format printer. I could just kind of very easily slice it here, here, and here, and that way I could do these sections in, you know, basically 400 millimeters wide. And I could probably make a significantly taller version of it. I could slice it sort of indefinitely, and then just I'd kind of remove all these gray sections, print those separately, and just glue them on. You know, maybe make a little dovetail for it so it slides in more readily, and make, you know, kind of a full-size device. But, you know, very interesting print. I'll probably actually just throw this on the Etsy as a kind of a desk ornament, or, you know, just an interest piece. Because that's kind of cool, simple, sort of elegant. I do like that. Also, if you saw yesterday, I went ahead and am doing my experiments. I've never done a nozzle greater than a 0.4, just a basic everyman's nozzle. And so I put in the 1.0. It came out, it was just kind of over extruding. And I think that's my volumetric flow, or you know, my max rate. So I've really got to get sort of an education on that. I'm completely clueless as to how you really need to dial those settings in. But I know you need to go hotter and slower, so, you know, that has more dwell time in the nozzle to melt the filament. But I did some tests. This is actually at with a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, 0.6 millimeter layer height. I'm hoping that's focusing in. But the cylinder came out pretty uniform. The seam is significant seam. Bottom seems okay. Top looks like absolute garbage. And so I was starting to do a Glock. This is just a 200% sized versus the 450% sized. The full-size model, but I was like, let's just go for it and see how supports come out, how the detail comes out, you know, if it's going to be viable, versus me just yeeting it and going for a full-size print. So this is what I stopped the print. I actually sliced the print, you know, because I don't need to do the whole thing. I just kind of cut it at a point where I could get some like good experimentation of, you know, supports and how it would translate up different sort of angles. And then I just kind of stopped the print halfway through. But this is at, I believe, 15% infill with a 0.6 layer height. And you could definitely see the lines. It came out okay. You know, I think this is perfectly acceptable. The only thing I kind of have an issue with is back here on the back, the grip of the Glock. These need to be of a much finer detail. But I will say, this thing is built like, is very, very sturdy. Now, I broke this off just to kind of test the strength, and that's because I took pliers and was ripping at it to try to get it off. So layer adhesion doesn't seem to be an issue, but it doesn't seem like there are too many people who run Cobra 2 Max with a bigger nozzle, or at least do that and then post their settings on the internet for people like me to just kind of write down without having to go through the process and doing all the tinkering and figuring it out on my own. Again, I'm not about the tinkering. I know the channel's Technicals Tinkers, but that's kind of a running joke with sort of the thing is, I'm not very technical on things. I'm just kind of, you know, I'm about the end goal, so to speak. So I'm not really interested in tinkering with the machine too much. I kind of just want the machine to work so I can start stamping out prints. You know, I just want I want to find the path to least resistance, and coming from, you know, sort of the strategy being like, I want to, you know, be more business focused. There's really no merit in tinkering with the machines or becoming an absolute master or expert in it. In my opinion, if you can achieve your goals without having to do that extra labor, the goal being to make money and sales. So definitely thick here. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential and promise here. Maybe, you know, a 0.5 millimeter layer height. Underneath where the supports contact leaves a lot to be desired. So if it was a high detail model, certainly couldn't do something like this. But again, these giant models, I think it's less about the fine detail and more about just the raw size. But again, as I've kind of been thinking about, like, well, you know, you could go on those finer layer heights and get a very detailed surface and have a super large model. You just need more printers, and you need to have it ready to go in stock. I don't think you can really rely on just kind of printing to order or printing on demand. You need to have it ready in the chamber, ready to go. Furthermore, if I'm being super real, I think I've been focused mainly too much, especially this week, I mean, and overall in general, focused entirely too much on art prints because I favor functional prints. It's just art prints are kind of a lot easier to sort of say, like, hey, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, versus functional prints, because functional prints are almost always hyper specific to whatever thing that you're doing. So if it's, you know, someone mentioned in the comments aquariums, you know, I ran an aquarium for a little while, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great way to have like lots of little parts and things like that. I'm sure that, you could benefit from that, and there's like a big niche in there for that. RC cars, I run RC cars every single day, but it's not my hobby. I do it for my dogs, as to exercise my dogs. So it's not like a love or a passion thing. But I know that there's a big space, a big niche for RC cars with 3D printing, because a lot of the car parts are made of plastic and a lot of them wear out over time. And so it's kind of a prime candidate for a lot of turnover, people constantly buying these parts to replace them, because it just comes with the territory that you're going to wear out parts on the car. So I'd certainly much favor functional prints. It's just it seems a little more difficult for me to figure out what I need, because any idiot can make a phone stand. But everyone has a phone, so there's a bigger market for it. So I guess if you could make one that stands out, maybe you could capitalize on that and get sales. So I'm going to really be trying to switch the mindset into more functional prints, you know, peppering those in more so as I try to gravitate towards finding a niche and something that's a little more sticky. So I've been looking around at some of the other 3D printers that do cryptocurrency mining type stuff, which has, you know, been my best seller thus far. And they all basically have kind of the same things. There aren't too many things you can 3D print for cryptocurrency mining. Additionally, cryptocurrency mining changes quite frequently. So that's an opportunity, because if some new thing comes out that merits having a 3D printed item, a companion item that goes along with it, there's an opportunity there. If you can get to market first, you can capture a lot of those sales. But unfortunately, with cryptocurrency mining, a lot of those devices are fleeting in their popularity. And so you'll make a lot of sales, but then they'll fall off a cliff and you'll never sell anything for that thing again. Case in point, the KSO fan shrouds, which is by far and away the thing I've sold the most of. They haven't released really a new miner for it, and those things, the profitability on them goes way down very quickly, and so there's no reason for anyone to buy them right now. But if they come out with a new device, could be tomorrow they come out with a new device that's in the same housing, and then suddenly I'll sell another 100 of them. So it's just kind of wait and see what happens, and then try to move and pivot as fast as you can. Anyway, that's the 3D Saga for today. Appreciate you guys sticking around and watching. Appreciate all the new subscribers, all the comments and engagement, both good and bad. It's fantastic. It helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching and for engaging. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this. I'm The Technicals. See you next time.